You, ma'am. Good morning.
There we go. Good morning. Can you hear me, Dr. Rockhold?
Yes, ma'am. Let me find a way to turn this up a little bit. I'll just lean close. I can hear you all.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So I'm going to, in a few minutes, we're going to get the all clear. We'll introduce ourselves. I'll let you introduce yourself, and then we'll get started. I'm going to ask the questions, and then the board members will have any follow-up. So I'll ask all the same questions to everybody in the same as they're written, and then we'll just go from there. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Am I coming through loud and clear?
Mm-hmm. We can hear you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hello, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me at all? Sorry about the echo.
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we're ready to go, Jason? Well, good morning, Dr. Rockhold. We're very happy you're joining us. I know it's early there, so thank you. My name is Rita Boer, and I'm the board chair. And I'm going to let everybody go around and introduce themselves, and then I'll let you just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get started.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone.
Hello, I'm Danny O'Quinn.
Hi, I'm Grover May.
I am Veronica Watson.
I'm Eddie Kless. Bill Isaacs.
So Dr. Rockhold, if you would, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get started.
Thank you, and good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to interview and speak with you all this morning on a nice sunshiny Saturday morning. So I've had a pot and a half of coffee, so I'm ready to go. So again, my name is Greg Rockhold. I have applied for the superintendent position there. I find a very healthy district. My current background, I just finished my 24th year in school administration. I currently serve as administrator in Hobbs Schools, Hobbs, New Mexico, where I also serve as athletic director. At my site, I oversee CNI curriculum and instruction, PLCs, professional development of staff. And we've come a long way in the 6 years that I have been on board. So that's my current duties right now. Athletic director, we're like a lot of places, we're up in the air on what that looks like for this next year. I do have all schedules ready to rock and roll. Transportation has been submitted, but it comes down to this. We are in a relationship building business, and that's what I do well with everybody, not only in the board, but I'm glad I've searched out the district to have a student on the board itself. That's exciting. So Miss Veronica, it's good to see you as part of this process. Tremendous, tremendous, tremendous. So I can talk till the cows come home, but we'll let that go for now.
So the first question is describe what you do in your current position on a daily basis. And tell me what aspects of that role do you enjoy the most and what do you kind of enjoy the least?
Every role that I've had, elementary, middle school, high school principal, and superintendent, my role is to be with the students, the staff. To sit behind a desk and run it, that's part of the overall process. That has to happen. However, listening, being in the hallways, being in classrooms, whether it's dealing with custodians, secretaries, food service, whatever it may be, transportation, out with the buses, transportation. But what I enjoy the most is in the hallways, interacting with the students, listening to them and talking with them. And I say talking with, communication is a two-way street. It's not just Greg talking at them, to them. It's listening to them. How are they doing? Because there's a lot of information students will give in the hallways. Going in classrooms, yeah, I'm there to eyeball what the teacher's doing, but at the same time, I'm there to go around. I'm not afraid to touch a student on the shoulder. That's been my MO for 24+ years. Hey, how you doing? What are you learning today? Well, this is what we're doing. And they'll look up at the board at the, what are we doing this week? We're doing integers this week, Doc Rock. Okay, great. How are you doing? Hey, before that, because I know what's going on with my students. So I can ask them, what's going on with your younger brother? How is he? Because we've got a lot of students in the district that have 6, 7, 8 brothers and sisters at other schools. And I do receive word that so-and-so's in the hospital or so-and-so had to go back to Mexico or whatever. So checking up on kids, that pulse, building that connection with the student. That's what I enjoy the most. Pacing guides, I can do that. Curriculum and instruction, I can come along and co-teach with teachers, giving feedback. This is what I like. This is what needs to be corrected. How can I assist you? But it's a building connection with the staff and students and listening. After the Marine Corps, I vowed I would never be a salesman. What did I do? I became a salesman because I talk a whole lot. And I wrote it with my dad. And what was interesting, I saw my dad work with the customers. And a guy who would talk and talk and talk and come home at 6 or 7, and he's just getting warmed up, not going down. But to see him have the skill and ability to close it and ask for the sale, that was beautiful to see. Leadership. Leadership's not about ramrodding people. It's about coming alongside and ensuring that the team is marching forward. Because students, I bet I could ask Miss Veronica, who's the strongest teacher and who's the weakest teacher? And she would be able to tell me, so-and-so, Miss so-and-so, Mr. so-and-so, man, he expects a lot. And so someone is weak, oh, we get away with proverbial murder in that class. So listening to students, that's what I enjoy the most, because then I bring that into what I do with CNI and pacing guides and PLCs and all the other little aspects that really bring a site closer together. Now, what I don't like is getting back to my office and having scads of referrals. It's like, okay. So I call the students in, and I make them, I tell them, I can call mom or dad. That's no big deal to me. You're gonna pick up the phone and you're gonna call mom or dad or grandma or your aunt or whoever, and you're gonna tell them why you're gonna be in ISS for this morning, all day, whatever it may be. Now, I'm guilty of giving too much grace. That's my prayer is that, come on, you can do better. About the second or third time, hey, you're an OCS, which is our ISS, in-school suspension for the day. Oh, but doc, no, you're calling your mom. You pick up the phone and you call her and you tell her why. That way you can't lie on, oh, it's someone else. And so that's part of the job. But I also see it as a relationship building, because then after the student tells the parent why they're going to be in ISS for the day, then I have the phone handed to me and I speak to the mama. And even that is a way to ensure that there's communication with the home, because then the parent's angry and I'm kind of chuckling and they start to chuckle. But we build this relationship even then with discipline. Like I say, that's not I don't care for it, but that's part of the job. And some students need to have some corrective listening and consequences. So thank you.
All right, we didn't have any follow-up, so I'll go on to the next question. And you've already kind of touched on this a little bit. The director of schools is undeniably the leader of our system. Define what leadership means to you, and the word integrity. What does that also mean to you?
As an Eagle Scout, Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Now, I have lived my life by those standards. To not conduct myself that way, I think I would have several grandmas and grandpas come out of the grave and come beat me, to be very blunt about it. I was brought up, your integrity is who you are, period. Your integrity is who you are when no one's looking. You do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Now that sounds trite, but it's not. It's not. I use transformational leadership and a leadership servant style. But trust. You trust but verify. When I tell the board something that's everyone collectively, I follow through. What I say is what I've done. The old take my word to the bank, that's who Greg is, period. If I say yes, it's yes. If I say no, it's no. If I say I need more information, or maybe that's what it is, because I don't have enough information to make a solid decision. But trust, we can build trust for 30, 40, 50 years, as you ladies and gentlemen know. And one time, you can lose those 30, 40, 50 years in a heartbeat. You don't play with money. You follow through. Your word is your word. And as a transformational leader, I'm always looking to train the administrators, because administrators inherently are left out of a lot of training. And so we sit around and mull what we're going to do for staff. And it's like, time out. What are we doing for administrators? How are we making them sharper? Because, and I would bluntly say this, I'm not God's gift to school administration, but the last 2 decades plus, growing up with a bunch of former Marines and Boy Scouts and whatnot, I've learned a lot on how to listen to people, how to motivate people, how to come alongside with people. And so my integrity is at the heart of what I do. Don't shuck and jive on me. And I tell kids that. And there's times I've had to tell parents that. Just give me the skinny on what's happening so I can make a decision based on the truth, not based on what you believe is the truth. So don't willy-nilly around with me. Tell me how it is. I'm a big boy. So I expect everybody to be open and honest with me. And I would say I have far too much fun in this business. I understand the stresses, understand the nature of what we do. But at the same time, we need to learn to laugh and come alongside each other, because at the heart of the matter, it's always the students. And after the students, it's the staff. When you take care of your troops, they take care of you.
Anybody have any follow-up questions or comments?
Can you elaborate on what you're currently doing to do coming alongside that you mentioned?
Thank you for that, sir. To come alongside someone, when I have a new teacher or someone new to the building, I want to see what they're doing in the class. So I look at their lesson plans, I come in and listen, I observe, I get feedback. And when I identify an area that needs to be tweaked, I can't just say, I need you to do such and such. How do I do that? So I need to come in and be the model to come alongside that person and say, this is how we do this, or this is how I look for this to be done. And come alongside that person and run the class for that 5 or 10 minute period on this is how we run it. Your desk needs to be behind the class. That way the kids can't be pulling stunts. You've got to set your classroom up right. So you've got to think through. And so you can't assume people understand what you're saying. You go in and you side by side, and it's a building relationship with that staff member. Excuse me, and that trust level grows. And he or she says, wow, that was good. It can be a little tiny strategy on structure, but then all of a sudden they've not lost the students. They've regained respect from the students. They are now able to conduct the class in a more favorable manner. They're not losing time. Time's not our friend. Now, we've all been students, and if someone's taken roll the first 5 minutes, that's 5 minutes gone. That's instructional time that's gone. Oh, it's 5 minutes to go, kids, look up the bell. So 10 minutes from every period is lost? No, that's very valuable. So ensuring that we're teaching bell to bell, what does that mean? Ensuring that your proper procedures are in place. What does that mean? Do you have lesson plans that drive the students toward success? What does that mean? Are you using student data? Yes or no? Are you looking at pacing guides? Are you looking at Illuminate, the data gathering software that we use in Hobbs? It's great. But how are you being successful? The more successful I can a teacher to become, the better he or she will have an enjoyment in teaching and develop that relationship with the kids. And instead of losing that person in 3 to 5 years, you now have a commitment towards education.
Anybody else? Okay, move on to the next question. In a perfect world, directors of schools would never have to make unpopular decisions. We do not live in a perfect world. So tell us about a time you needed to make a difficult decision as an administrator, and explain your decision-making process when faced with those difficult decisions.
Oh no, that's never happened to me. So half the staff love you one day and the other half love you the next. That's the way it goes. So no names, obviously. So I worked with this individual. And I will say this individual was a director. And this person had cost the district $125,000 plus. So things weren't going real well. So sit down and talk with the individual, get some insight, make some suggestions on what I needed to see change. Second time now, I have the same conversation, but now I'm documenting. It's like, don't mess with my kids' money, man. So after the second conversation, and now I've documented it in my chicken scratch, still nothing. So the third time, I had found a fella out of Arizona to come in and do an audit of food service. And so he did an audit, and he also did training, because in a school district, the only real place, one of the real places that a district can make money is in food service. I said, you know what? Bring in $500,000, spend $500,000. Let's at least break even. Don't come in March or April and you need 125 grand again and again and again. I can't. It's just not going to happen. So long story short, there were no changes. So I documented everything, got a hold of my board and said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this person on a growth plan. This person has 45 days or I will cut ties. So I've done my documentation. I've covered my bases legally. The board is all on play with what Greg's doing. So the consultant out of Arizona had presented that we should make X number of dollars in the cafeteria. And I know there's a give and take to that. It's like, okay, we made 100 grand. I can afford to spend 40, 50,000 on some new equipment now out of those funds. We didn't have those funds available. So unfortunately, the individual did not follow through. So I called the individual in and I had a witness with me, a human witness, and I tend to record important stuff like that. It was the little cassette tapes, and I had written out a letter. Is basically, dear so-and-so, that was myself. I hereby resign my position, date it, sign it. And so we had about a 10-minute conversation. The individual balked, and I, excuse me, I said, you either sign this or I sign it, one of the two. I've worked with you and worked with you. You're costing the district, you're stealing money basically from my kids by not running your department even closely to being a professional department. And so the individual signed the letter and that was it. So sometimes, as we all know, you have to do those things you don't want to do, but you do them because that's what's best for the district. It goes back to the original question: trust, the ethics, the integrity. You follow through with what you're going to do. Now, as I stated, I do give lots of grace, and that would include adults. But when push comes to shove, don't shaft my kids, man, period.
I do have one. We have a very involved community in our school system. So let's say you follow through and then we come to a board meeting and I have a room full of unhappy people. How are you going to handle that?
You always listen. Unhappy people, that's an opportunity to strengthen relationships. At least they're coming. That's better than a room full of people out at a coffee shop. I don't like Rockhold. I don't like this. The board stinks. Blah, 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 blah. But when they come, that's an opportunity to market who we are, and what we stand for. Now, a room full of unhappy people, they need to come, a chain of command. And it can take time, but I need to listen and find out who's the main cog, which parent, which community member, who do I need to, and my ears kind of jump off the side of my head when people start to patronize me. So I don't patronize people, but it's that relationship with that group of people who have a concern. What is their concern? Because I'm not going to say it's not valid, because people are coming. You validate their concern and you listen. You listen and listen, and you invite them back, because I would say this: board meetings need to go anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. If they go 6, 7 hours, then something's wrong. You come in, you do the work, you enjoy what you have volunteered to basically do, and you enjoy working with each other and ensuring that the community's kids are moving forward, and that the district, the board, and I, and everybody are on the same page. But again, it goes back to I'm thankful even at school now when a parent comes in, I'm mad. Well, great, have a seat. I'm mad. I'm glad you're here. Let's get the iron out and we'll get the wrinkles out. So let me listen to you. Now, they may get the same answer. It may be a no because of whatever board policy is, and I'm going to follow that, and I'm going to explain it to them. But at least they've been given time to listen. That someone's given them opportunity to listen to them and their concerns. So that's what people want to know. Do they have an ear, and that is someone truly listening to their concerns? Are we validating their concerns? And then when I say, I'll call you back, give me till tomorrow, give me a couple of days to find out what's going on. And then you call them back and document it. I called back on this date. I use steno pads as I've used since 1842. So I write down everything, and I still have them from years and years back. So I returned a call, I left a message, whatever it may be. But again, people who show up at a board meeting with a grievance or a gripe, that's an opportunity to turn it around. I don't go, oh no. How can we listen to these folks and validate their concerns and move forward? That's what they want. So let's ensure that we give them what they want. Now, I'm not going to go against board policy, but even at board meetings, I'm going to stand on my own two feet. But at the same time, I'm not going to be purposely offensive, because the community and listening to the community is vitally important, gravely important. And so listening is more important than talking a lot of times.
So beyond just even listening and validating, when the community members come to you with these issues, would you try to do your best to make sure that you can do what you can for their problem, or yeah. Sorry.
That's okay, Miss Veronica. You're fine.
I'm sorry about that. So when community members come to you with their issues, instead of just listening and validating, is it important to you that you take to consideration what they're saying into your processes, or does it just kind of become a thing that you look at and then, yeah, I don't know how to word it better.
No, I follow what you're saying. At no time, and that I would call that patronizing. I'm going to just sit there and smile and listen to you, nod my head, just kumbaya. No, what are they saying? How are they saying it? They're coming with their heart. So listening to them and then acting on what they're stating. Now, it may say, I may need to have folks come in tomorrow, have a cup of coffee, and spend 30, 45 minutes listening in the office on what's going on, because there are those issues that we can iron out. It may take 30, 45 minutes or an hour in an office versus sitting there in a board meeting doing that. But at no time, whether it's yourself, students, staff, community members, does what go in my ears just become, oh, I listen to them and that's it. No, you always act. Even when you don't do anything, you return calls and say, we've listened to your concerns, we've passed those along to the right people, we've corrected that, what are you doing? I'm not going to say what I've done with staff. That's a personnel issue. But I am going to return calls. And I believe that's vitally important to building that relationship. Well, he didn't tell me what went on. I'm not going to discuss staff or student issues over the phone or in person. It's just, I'm not going to violate my ethics. But again, to reiterate, it goes in one ear and it gets mulled over. So it's not a patronizing, oh, he listened. No, it's listen and then action. And sometimes that action is just a phone call back. Sometimes it's going to someone's business or office in town and validating and finding out, are there other issues and what do I need to know to be proactive in regards to those issues?
you personally been involved in setting your current school system's budget or previous school system's budgets? And have you worked with your local funding body to secure funds needed for the budget?
I have set several budgets. I do have a participation level in Hobbs. I have set budgets for school districts in the past, my previous principalships in Alaska and other places, superintendent positions in Colorado. But when you set a budget, you look at the current funding versus next year's. What increases are you going to have? You need to look at special needs students. You need to look at gifted. You need to look at what utilities are going to increase. What's our FTE? Are we getting 100 students in? Are we losing 100 students? How are we going to maintain what we offer our students? Do we have student involvement? Do we have parental involvement? The budget just isn't made by 2 or 3 people behind closed doors. It's everybody being able to see, because people say the budget's hidden. Nope, the budget's transparent. If we spend $2 for a book, people need to see, hey, they bought so-and-so book for $2. Speaking of the budget, I have reviewed the district's audits for the last 5 years. I have last year's right here in front of me, all 50 some odd pages. And I would say that's pretty short. Most budgets audits are 100, 120 pages. And quite frankly, to have a couple receipts not accounted for, that's great. If every year someone finds 2 receipts not written out, I'll sign off. That's marvelous. But when you look at a budget, you have to take in a lot of considerations. Are we looking at planning on rehabbing a building, building a new wing? We're going to look at all aspects, utilities, insurance costs. We know insurance keeps going up in every state. Are our salaries staying up even with insurance costs? Are we providing for our staff? Are we taking care of them? Are we providing for schools? Whether it's, I would always set up a budget at school and would tell staff, don't touch my 10 grand. What 10 grand? Don't touch my paper money in March. That's my money. Don't jack with my paper money, because, well, we'll use just some of it. It's like, no, I've seen that happen. And before long, we need a whole lot of paper and we have $4.55. And it's like, no. So the budget, every line item's thoughtfully taken care of. Now, it's like a pro forma. You're putting out a budget. In New Mexico right now, we're 2.8 billion short. So there's special session coming up the next Thursday and Friday. And the governor thinks that the budget can be taken care of in 2 days. It's like, okay, I don't think you can cut 2.8 billion off of what's been spent in 2 days. But good luck, lady. But and then you ensure that you're following state guidelines on what you can hold back, what you can hold in arrears, and you slowly put on utilities, insurance. You have staff hitting different steps within the salary schedules, etc. Staff who went from a BA to MA. How is that going to impact salaries? What is the state doing to come along? What additional monies from the feds may be coming along? Additional monies from the local economy, the local county coming up. So these are all, they're not in concrete, but they're tentative. In Colorado, I would receive mineral lease monies, and staff would always say, hey, you need to budget for those. And I would say, hey, 1 month 0 and next month is 27,000. I can't budget on something that goes up and down. And so you budget on history, you look towards the future, and you look forwards to taking care of your children. All kids, and when I say all, I mean all children. Regular ed, special ed, gifted, everybody in between, all programs, CTE, the XQ program, which I find incredible. So you're always looking to fund monies where it needs to go. Now, also, you're always looking to cut monies. You said cut monies. Now, this could be, I put in a series of tankless water heaters. An old water heater dies, and I'm not going to spend $14,000 on old technology. So I spent $17,000 on 5 tankless water heaters. Well, the first month they're in place, we started saving over $400 a month gas savings. Well, $4,800 a year times 10 years, simple math, 10 years, we just saved $48,000 with just one item. So in other words, it's finding those items to where in the long term, you start saving money with utilities that you can plow back into the classroom, into different programs. Because even in a small district, if you start saying $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month off utilities or something, it can impact the budget in a huge way. So I'm always reviewing the budget, sit down for an hour or two every other week. Where are we at? Where are we at? Where do we need to fund monies? And then you stick with your proverbial guns, because I called all the directors together and said, do not spend monies you don't have. Well, athletics decided to order a bunch of football equipment without a PO. So here's all these boxes in the hallway, and someone sent them back. And I said, Janelle's been shucking and jiving the books forever. I told you guys, we don't just have money running out our ears. If you need additional equipment or monies in your line items, come see me. Let's talk about it. So unfortunately, I had to make a believer out of a football coach or two. It's like, you just don't order stuff and expect Janelle to move the funds around. So again, you've got to keep your eyes on the budget. So if you let it get out of hand, oh, it's just $100, the next month it's $1,000, it just goes downhill from there.
Okay, we have about 10 more minutes. I have 3 more questions, so we're going to have to zip through. If you are tasked with being the director of Elizabethton City Schools, what type of people will you need to build your support team to help you be successful?
I rely on others. It's just not great. It's our school, it's our district, our staff, our students. I need people who can follow through. I need people who are willing to learn. I need people who can say, well, I can kind of do that, but I need some assistance. It's a give and take. I can do this, this, and this, but I don't know that and that real well. So coming to the table and bringing your ideas. And I will tell the board very honestly, I do not micromanage. Micromanaged people do not function well. They will sit back, hold their cards, and they'll wait. Well, I'm not going to participate. Greg makes all the decisions. We'll just wait till he does. I want people who are players in crafting a better, taking the district from one level to the next. People who have insight, who have knowledge and expertise in various areas. So it comes back to the biblical model. Everyone has a part to play and play it well. And then we'll go forward with a great mandate and we're all on the same page. That's the beauty. No one's arguing with each other. It's everybody marching forward. And again, then staff sees, community sees it, that the district's all on the same page and that there's no infighting, and he doesn't like her, she doesn't like him. You avoid all those political issues that can drag a district down.
And you mentioned their mandate. We would go forward with a great mandate. What would your mandate be if you could select that for our school system?
The mandate would be this: people rejecting indifference, demanding excellence. Now, if you look at that, That spells pride, Pride. So reject that staff can't, reject that students can't. Believe in your students. The indifference is, well, they may catch it, they may not. No, the mandate's this: we all march forward. We all have a level of pride in each other, and that our students can and will be successful, period. Pride.
Thank you.
Tell us about a time you failed at something as a leader. How did you handle it? And what did you learn about that?
Okay. Let's see, I'll pick one of 100. So I'm addressing the entire staff. We'd spent the summer, transportation had come a long way. We had found 15, 20,000 bucks in just parts. We had 17 fill filters for a vehicle the district hadn't had for 4 years. It's like, why? Never mind. And so we found parts and we found hundreds of filters for buses. It's like, we've got enough filters. These buses are going to be dead and gone before we use up all these filters. So we had a lot of monies tied up in parts. So technology come along with all the directors, everyone busted their tail all summer long. So I'm addressing staff and I'm excited. The school year's cranking up. So I talk about what went on with transportation and how excited I was, and I'm thanking the directors for their great work. And the transportation director we had found all these excess parts, 12, 15, 20,000 bucks worth of parts, and that Napa in Craig, Colorado, they're going to take all the parts back. It's like, woohoo, send me a check now. And so, long story short, I start getting a cold shoulder from an employee. It's like, what's going on here? That's strange. So I was just thanking the directors for a great summer's work. This individual's son had been the former transportation director. And so the assumption was I was slighting the former transportation director. It's like, okay, I'm sorry, that wasn't the intention. So I sat down with the individual because I would go to the school and the individual would turn and walk away. It's like, wow. So finally called them back and we sat down, and I offended them. I stepped on the toes. It's like, I was just excited that we found all these parts, but so I apologized, asked for forgiveness, and we moved forward. So what did I learn? Know my audience a whole lot better.
Well, Dr. Rockhold, our last question is going to be asked by Veronica. So I'm going to give her the floor.
Okay, so as the student liaison, it is my job to speak on behalf of the students and voice their concerns to the board, and also ensure that their voices are heard. With this in mind, I would like to know, in what ways will you value and honor student voices as the superintendent?
Miss Veronica, I want to ensure that you're valued now, and I believe you are on this interview, this Zoom interview with the board itself. Now, as I stated earlier, when parents come to a board meeting and they have a concern or an issue, I enjoy listening to students, even eating lunch, showing up with my peanut butter and honey sandwich and sitting down. Now, I do like chocolate milk, so I'll grab 2 or 3 chocolate milks. I'm just an older kid, you know. But listening to students at lunch, what are their concerns? What do they want to see? What do they believe their futures are? What is their belief within the XQ relationship? What would they like to see within staff training that they see their teachers may need? And so it's not only just listening, but then ensuring that, hey, that's a great idea. Then coming back to the board and say, hey, students were talking about this, and Miss Veronica can bring it up at a board meeting, and we march through with it. Because students hear lots of things. Students know what's going on in the building long before any adults know. And I want to ensure that students are listened to and valued and not patronized. Again, my ears jump off the side of my head when people start patronizing me. But coming down to students, walking the halls, walking into classrooms, and listening to concerns, even the 3 minutes changing during periods, before school, after school, in the parking lot, on the football field, wherever it may be, being available to staff and students is vitally important to me. Going back to the office, those things are part of the job. But I can't build relationships if I'm not in the buildings, if I'm not going through lunch times and finding out. People need to know, who's this new guy? Is he going to listen to us? Is he going to blow us off? But coming alongside and listen to concerns, it's tremendous. And I will tell you, nationwide, most boards will not put a student on the board. So I'm thankful that the board has done this. So you do have a voice within the board. And as the possible director, superintendent of schools, you do have my ears and my heart, and my thanks for being there right now.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't push my little slide button here. We haven't talked about the virus this morning. And something that we're going to need here in our school district is somebody to hit the ground running when and if school does open back up. How would you approach that?
Well, we've all seen the CDC guidelines. Holy smokes, hang on to your socks. Now, I have to chuckle when someone says, okay, even in Hobbs, oh, we went in and sanitized the schools. Okay. When you coming back? Well, they're sanitized. No. You sanitize that doorknob. Once Greg touches it, it's no longer sanitized. Now, I read just yesterday that the average cost of possible reopening with all the other rules and cleaning issues, it's going to cost the average district 1.7 million additional funds for cleaning, etc. Now, I don't like using the monies in that way, because then that reduces what we need for students. Now, do we need to be safe? Yes. Can we come up with what's safe for our students to return to school if that's what comes up? Do we need to wear masks? People say, oh, masks are good. Hobbs schools would spend over $1 million just in masks if masks were mandated by the state. Now, we have 10,600 students. We sit on a bazillion, whatever number that is, barrels of oil. So the budget this year is fine. It's the budget next year that's going to take a huge hit. So what do we do now? We need to ensure the health of our staff and our students. It's just not the students. It's also, we're going to have staff being tentative to return. Is it safe to come back? I don't want to come down with this virus. I'm an older person. I don't want to get sick. And we're going to have parents who are concerned. We're sending our kids back. What have the schools done? So we need to ensure our community, our kids, and our staff, that every day that we're doing the best that we possibly can to keep things clean. Now, I believe in using quality products to clean. Quality products mean you actually use less. A quaternary, we can wipe everything off, and it's a whole lot more effective than using bleach. Bleach is a chemical that loses its effectiveness within 6 months. So it's an unstable chemical product. A quaternary doesn't, 1 ounce per gallon of water, and you could clean all day long. But you're cleaning consistently all day long. And it takes training for the custodial staff on what we're doing. Now, it's going to be interesting. Do we need to put desks 6 feet apart? Do we need to put little plexiglass? I've seen, I wish I had stock in a plexiglass company. All these different dividers and coming up square and X shape, and 4 students can be there, but you've got these dividers. And we need to remember, even we adults, we're social. We interact with each other. That's how we learn. So it comes down to a balance of protection in regard to the current virus and trying to move forward. Because the other concern is our students are losing out. They're falling behind. We've had hundreds of Zoom meetings. My wife was on one with in regard to an IEP, and the same student she knew as just a vivacious student, just outgoing, just sat there with the head down. It's like, this time out of school has really set kids on an unfavorable path. But it comes down to validating and ensuring the health of staff and students, and then balancing that. And then finding out what the community, what the state wants us to do as a district, and then what the board would like the schools to do. Because anything we do is going to cost monies and take time. Time is money also. So it comes down to listening what the state, what the districts around us are going to be doing. And again, ensuring the safety of all people in all buildings.
All right. I actually love the whole Doc Rock thing. That's one of the coolest names I've ever heard. But Dr. Rockhold, it was a delight to meet you. I'm going to take my computer and turn it around. And that way, if anybody would like to come up and chat with you, they can. And again, thank you for meeting with us this morning. It's been great.
That's fine. That's fine. Anybody on the board, Miss Veronica, anything come out backwards that, what did he say? I just want to check for understanding.
I think we're good, and we're going to have to stay on our timeline. So I'm going to